is a particular concern right now because we have a national security issue and the president's health is at stake.
Certainly is right now. We're waiting for the president to emerge. We'll see when that happens, and we'll have, of course, special coverage of all of this. Dana, I know you're doing some reporting on all of this. So what are you hearing?
Well, I just want to echo what Jamie is saying. I mean, I'm reaching out to people who are usually informed about what's going on inside the president's world. And the people I'm talking to, just like Jamie, aren't hearing anything. And, you know, yes, it is true that not so long ago, maybe an hour and a half ago, we got a statement from the president's doctor that gave us the cocktail that they're giving him, which for Donald Trump, that was maybe a big deal. But what Sanjay was saying was obviously, as we're watching now, dead on, that they were kind of leaving breadcrumbs that something bigger was going on other than the fact that he just had mild symptoms, which is what they started telling us as the day began. And just the fact that there doesn't seem to be very much outgoing information at all. And in fact, what we are getting are tweets like Eric Trump's tweet, which was beautiful, but also I thought very stark, is different from what we usually see with this White House.
Yeah.
Not when it comes to telling the media, but at least reaching out to allies outside the White House.
When Eric Trump, the president's son, says, "I ask you to join me in praying for his recovery. I have never been more proud of someone and what they have had to endure," which suggests the president is going through a tough situation right now. That from the president's son, Eric Trump. Gloria is still with us as well. I know you're doing some reporting. What are you hearing?
Well, I think it's important to note, first of all, overall, Wolf, and I heard what Bob Woodward was saying, but I want to respectfully disagree because I think we could be getting more information than we're getting, although it seems to me that the White House staff standing out there, masked now, doesn't have a lot more information than we do. But I think what's concerning to me is what Manu Raju is reporting from the Hill, which is that top leaders of Congress have not had any briefings about the president's health. The Gang of Eight has not been notified about his health or about the transfer to Walter Reed. And that is, I think that is really problematic. Now, Manu's also reporting that Trump did reach out to some of his allies on Capitol Hill earlier today, like Lindsey Graham and Mitch McConnell. But we don't really know anything more than that. And I think it is particularly concerning given the fact that the president has been given an experimental monoclonal antibody cocktail. And that really does speak to some level of concern on the part of the president's doctors about the president's health, because it is experimental. And I'm no doctor. Sanjay can clearly talk about this better than I can. But I do believe that even if you're not doing a full-fledged briefing on the president's health, that as we sit and we await his departure here now for more than an hour, I do think that the public is owed more detail than they've been given. Hopefully that'll be forthcoming once the president gets to Walter Reed. But what is particularly concerning is that people on Capitol Hill, including the Gang of Eight, which are, the leaders of the House and the Senate, they have not been told anything either.
Interesting. Gloria, stand by. We are now told the president is aboard Marine One. You can see the helicopter, the blades beginning to turn. He is aboard Marine One. He walked out of the door on the south lawn of the White House, did not speak and answer reporters' questions, did not make a statement. He just kept on walking. We'll get the video of that and show it to our viewers soon. But you can see Marine One getting ready to take off from the south lawn of the White House and make that brief 8 or 10 minute flight over to the Walter Reed National Military Medical Center in Bethesda, Maryland. It's interesting, Gloria, I think that the president didn't even make a statement as he was walking out, simply walked out and boarded Marine One. It'll be interesting also to see who was with the president, what the president was wearing. Was he wearing a mask? We're going to get all that information fairly soon. We'll get that videotape and we'll see what's going on. Jeremy Diamond, you're getting some more information. You're already there at the Walter Reed National Military Medical Center. What are you hearing?
Yeah, Wolf, well, we will get that video of the president boarding Marine One shortly. This is one of those events where it's not live, but we feed the tape in. So we will see that video shortly. But what we do know from our pool producer, Nikki Carvajal, who was there, she said that the president walked out of the residence and he was wearing a mask. He was also in a suit and that he waved to the media but did not stop to talk. I presume that reporters were probably shouting questions to the president, but he apparently did not answer those, walking over to Marine One. He was also accompanied, Wolf, by the White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows, who earlier today we saw talking to reporters without a mask. He was wearing a mask as he was following the president onto Marine One. In fact, there has been a policy, Wolf, that White House aides actually do wear masks aboard Marine One for quite some time now, but notable that the White House Chief of Staff was actually walking across the South Lawn with a mask on. And as we were waiting for the president, Wolf, our colleague Jim Acosta took a picture of several White House staffers.
Marine One, Jeremy, hold on for a moment. Marine One now taking off, lifting from the South Lawn of the White House to make that brief flight. It'll head north towards Bethesda, Maryland. Very often when a president, and I covered the White House for 7 years, the president will simply have a car, be in the limousine, the presidential limo, and do a motorcade drive. It's not very far over to Bethesda, but right now he's going in Marine One, and you can see the chopper taking off and will be heading there. You can see it right there. Usually there are at least one other, maybe two other helicopters in the area, other Marine helicopters escorting Marine One, but there you see it going over the nation's capital and heading towards Bethesda. We'll try to keep a shot up as long as we can. But Jeremy, go ahead.
Yeah, well, Wolf, and it's only going to take the president a few minutes. It's about a half-hour drive from the White House to here, much shorter, obviously, by helicopter. So in a matter of minutes, really, we'll likely be seeing the president's helicopter land on the field in front of Walter Reed Military Medical Center, which is where we are right now. But Wolf, as I was saying, Jim Acosta took a picture of some White House staffers who were gathered for the president's departure. All of them were wearing masks. Nearly a dozen staffers there. And Wolf, what's remarkable is that picture was a novelty. I mean, I can't recall another instance where I have seen so many White House staffers actually wearing masks at the same time. And we are months into this pandemic, Wolf, and yet it takes the president of the United States coming down with coronavirus for the White House to begin following many of its own CDC guidelines, which they have been encouraging Americans to follow for months now. And yet we are only now starting to see that trickle into the White House. And beyond that, Wolf, obviously, as we were talking about the president's condition, the change in how the White House has been describing his condition throughout the day. One of the reasons why we are obviously so skeptical of the way that they've been describing the president's condition is because this is a White House, Wolf, that has obviously consistently withheld information, offered counterfactual, false information, not only about the president himself, but about a range of topics. And so we often talk about this White House's credibility problem, Wolf, and this is when it matters. These are those national security crises when the White House's credibility matters. It doesn't just matter as it relates to matters of foreign policy and matters of war and peace, but it also matters when it comes to the president's health, which is also, of course, a national security matter. And we are now seeing the results, Wolf, of 5 years from the president's candidacy throughout his time in the White House of his falsehoods and his lies coming back to bite him, in the sense that it is very hard to believe word for word everything that the White House is saying about the president's condition. And furthermore, because of the fact that there has been shifting explanations throughout the day, the White House Chief of Staff saying the president's very energized, then the Dr. Sean Conley, the White House physician, saying that the president is fatigued merely hours later.
You see Marine One escorted by another Marine helicopter making their way over to the Walter Reed National Military Medical Center in Bethesda. Should be there fairly soon. We are told, Jeremy, that when the president walked out of the residence on the South Lawn of the White House, he was wearing a mask. He was wearing a suit. He waved to the news media who were stationed there, but he did not stop to talk. He was accompanied by the White House Chief of Staff, Mark Meadows, who was also wearing a mask. He followed the president out to Marine One. The president boarded Marine One, by the way, at 6:17 p.m. Eastern. It's now 6:24 p.m. Eastern, and we see the helicopter making its way towards the Walter Reed Medical Center. We're about to get also the actual video. Here's the video of the president walking out. Let's watch. All right, that's the video. So we saw the president walking out. We saw Mark Meadows. They were wearing masks. Others carrying some, I assume, equipment. I don't know what kind of equipment it was, but you saw them walking out with masks as well, boarding Marine One to make this flight. The helicopter still in the air over Washington, D.C., making its way to suburban Maryland, just outside Washington, D.C., to Bethesda. You looked at, and Sanjay Gupta is with us. When you saw the president, Sanjay, and you're a physician, you understand these things. What did his look suggest to you? Could we make any determination as to his state when we saw him walking out there, Sanjay?
No, I think it would be hard to speculate too much on that. Obviously, he was walking on his own. He seemed to not have any difficulty with that or going up the stairs or anything. He was wearing a mask, as you point out, which is absolutely mandatory now, especially now that he has the virus. We know that. But no, there's nothing particularly concerning that you see when he just boards the helicopter there. But I wouldn't have necessarily expected that either. You know, he even with moderate symptoms, fever, not feeling well, fatigued, whatever it may be, this would still fit with that. It's the level of concern, Wolf, that prompted this, the helicopter flight over to the hospital. So hopefully, as you have asked, and hopefully we'll get more details about what prompted that specifically. But we know he's going there, and he's expected to stay there for some time. So that's just, they're giving us clues here that there's a level of concern that obviously changed, as Jeremy Diamond pointed out, throughout the day. And we're sort of forced to speculate on what that is. So hopefully we'll get more details, maybe from the medical team at Walter Reed after he arrives there and is assessed.
Hopefully we will. We can see Marine One making its way to Bethesda, Maryland, about to land at the hospital. They've been in the air for maybe almost close to 10 minutes. Jim Acosta, you were there on the South Lawn, Jim, when the president walked out together with the White House Chief of Staff, Mark Meadows, and others. What was it like?
Well, Wolf, first of all, I can tell you we waited for about an hour for the president to come out. At about 5:15, the White House pool, which we're a part of today, was brought out to the South Lawn of the White House where, Wolf, we wait out there for the president to depart on Marine One. And, when the president came out, we asked him some questions. He didn't want to take any of those questions. Obviously, the striking difference was that the president was wearing a mask. We don't see him wearing a mask very often. I will tell you, Wolf, and I don't know how much you can read into this. I could see some fatigue in the president's eyes. You could tell he looked tired. And it appeared to me that Marine One was just taking a little bit extra time leaving the White House grounds this evening. That could also just be the way they were flying this evening, but everything seemed to be moving a little bit slower this evening, which of course is understandable, Wolf, given the situation that the president's in right now. The other thing I will tell you that was really striking standing there on the South Lawn of the White House, and I think you made note of this earlier, Wolf, I have never seen so many White House officials in the press office wearing masks. As we were waiting for the president to depart the White House and board Marine One, you could see the press secretary and various communications and press staffers wearing their masks. They almost never do that walking around the White House. They almost see it as a source of pride that they don't wear masks. That seems to have changed on a dime this evening, Wolf. It seems to have turned on a dime this evening. And so now we're just waiting to see what happens next. I mean, obviously, this doesn't happen very often for the President of the United States to essentially be airlifted or medevaced from the White House to Walter Reed. suggests that this is a serious situation. The White House has been telling us all day long, no, he's just dealing with mild symptoms and so on. Honestly, Wolf, I think we're just going to need more information before we can take that to the bank. If he were just dealing with mild symptoms and he was in good spirits, as they've been telling us, one has to wonder, why is all of this necessary? But again, as I was saying, as he was leaving the White House, he just seemed to be moving a little slower than we're usually seeing him. Typically this president, he likes to talk to reporters. You've seen this on so many different occasions. It's a beautiful evening. Would have been just fine for him to stop and talk to us. And he went right past us, flashed a thumbs up. I asked him, how are you doing? How long do you expect to be gone from the White House? All we got was a thumbs up from the president. Mark Meadows, the chief of staff, following behind him. But that's about it. And now we're just waiting to see, how long will the president of the United States be hospitalized? How long will he be there? How long will he be treated? And we're now waiting, the latest developments on that, Wolf.
Yeah, we do know there's a presidential suite there at the Walter Reed National Military Medical Center, where he will be, we're told, for several days right now. You see Marine One, it has landed there at the helipad at Walter Reed. Caitlin Collins is getting some new information for us as well. What are you learning, Caitlin?
Well, Wolf, we're learning a little bit more of what could have played a role in this visit that you're seeing the president make, as, of course, the Marine there wearing a mask as well, we should point out, is getting ready for the president himself to get off Marine One. But we were told that he is spooked by this diagnosis, Wolf. The president is someone who is obviously very concerned about his health. He has always kind of been that figure if you talk to people who knew him before he took office. But we're told that he became increasingly alarmed by this diagnosis and as he was developing symptoms overnight. And so it really seemed to set in with the president what was going on. And that is a big difference from what you heard his tone during that interview last night on Sean Hannity when he said that he had been tested, Wolf, and they were waiting on a result. He sounded very nonchalant, did not seem too concerned. We are told that has changed significantly, and the president's mood now is much more freaked out than what it had been, immediately upon diagnosis.
Here comes the president, who's now walking down. Let's just listen and watch, see if we can hear anything. No, we can't. We're not going to be able to hear anything. He's going to get into one of those vans that will make a very short drive over to the actual hospital, and he'll head in, and he's going to be there for a few days. Caitlin, go ahead. Finish your thought. We'll see this motorcade depart momentarily.
Yeah, notice that every single person you see is wearing a mask that's around the president, including the chief of staff, including these body men. Those are the guys with the bags that travel with the president. You don't normally see them wearing masks, Wolf, when they've been going to these rallies, getting on Marine One, because of course they felt this false sense of security with a test. And we are seeing how it took their boss, the president, getting coronavirus to really wake some people up about wearing a mask and how the precautions about them taking, because we have not seen that level of precaution at all inside the White House. And so it will be interesting to see how this changes things. But this is something that went off like a bomb inside the White House today, Wolf. People realizing that their boss, the president of the United States, had tested positive for coronavirus really shook people up. And so many people we spoke with were upset about it. They couldn't believe it. It was like a disbelief situation, Wolf. And it does make you question what will be different going forward about the way that they are working out of the West Wing now that the president is not going to be there for a few days. It's hard to overstate how significant this moment is. Yeah,
and we're told, by the way, Caitlin, that the president, as soon as he leaves this motorcade, he'll go upstairs to what are called the presidential offices and the presidential suite. It's a large complex, as we know. There you see the Bethesda, the Walter Reed National Military Medical Center in Bethesda. But there's a sitting room for the president, a conference room for the president, and the actual hospital bedroom for the president. And according to the White House press secretary, the president will be, quote, working there. And we've also been reporting he will not be transferring power to the vice president. He will still be in charge. Doug Brinkley, the presidential historian, is with us right now. So give us a little sense of history as to what we're seeing, Doug.
Well, for starters, the White House now is a hotbed of COVID-19. And that's not just the residency of the president, but this is our executive branch is really under siege by the virus. Everybody should be wearing a mask, but the entire White House apparatus, every room, every building is going to have to be super sanitized at this point because many people work there. Secondly, I don't think we're going to be having these press spokesmen as we're used to in presidential history speaking for the president, unless he is really to the point of unable to communicate. He does have Twitter. He probably will communicate once he feels he's in a safe zone there, some information, maybe even dabble in politics in the next day or two. And the good news for President Trump is that he's got the best medical attention imaginable at Walter Reed, while his age being in his being in the mid 70s isn't good, and being overweight, 95% of people in a situation are going to weather this okay. But it has to be a humiliation for this president who's been making jokes about the mask that Joe Biden wears, almost created a 2020 campaign of mocking the mask-wearing public, and here he is hobbling to Walter Reed Hospital on Marine One, having to wear a mask. And in many ways, it'll be part of the narrative of this year, this sort of grand medical humiliation he had. And also, Wolf, I could say one other thing. I think the president has to be fatigued. I mean, running how he has on 2020 nonstop and coming out of that big debate, he's fighting the virus with exhaustion.
It's a very serious development that we're watching unfold. And as I've repeatedly said, on behalf of all of our viewers here in the U.S. and around the world, we, of course, wish the president a very speedy recovery. We wish him the best, and hopefully he won't have to spend too long over there. We're getting some more information coming in. The president just tweeted a video, we're told. Let me play it for our viewers.
I want to thank everybody for the tremendous support. I'm going to Walter Reed Hospital. I think I'm doing very well, but we're going to make sure that things work out. The First Lady is doing very well. So thank you very much. I appreciate it. I will never forget it. Thank you.
Short statement from the president, trying to reassure the American public and American friends around the world that he's okay, that the First Lady is okay as well. Jeremy Diamond, you're there at Walter Reed. We saw crowds gathering outside. They wanted to get, an image, a historic moment. Indeed, what are you seeing where you are?
Yeah, well, we saw the president arrive here at Walter Reed Medical Center. He landed on Marine One. The president got off of Marine One, down the steps, and then boarded one of those SUVs that he typically uses for transportation, really to take him just a couple dozen yards, Wolf, so that he could go inside Walter Reed Hospital, which is behind this. Well, as the president was arriving, I mean, we saw many of the president's supporters. We also saw people who were against the president, and they are still gathered here. You can see a crowd of people who have been gathered here to watch the president arrive here at the hospital. Obviously, a very significant situation, as something that a lot of his supporters simply wanted to see. We also saw some supporters trying to block media cameras from actually filming the arrival of the president. They are obviously aware that there are health concerns here, and this is something, an image that some of his supporters perhaps don't want to see. They don't want to give that to the media, to allow the media to cover this. Obviously, we were still able to get the shot here, Wolf, but there is a scene of people who have gathered as the President of the United States, 74 years old, in a high-risk category, of course, as it relates to coronavirus, is now admitted to the hospital for several days.
You see Marine One, the helicopter behind you, taking off. That's why it's hard to hear you right now, Jeremy. But Marine One did its mission, about a 10-minute flight from the south lawn of the White House to where you are over at the Walter Reed National Military Medical Center. Jeremy, stand by. Gloria, when we heard the president in that brief little video that he tweeted, when he said, "I think I'm doing very well, but we're going to make sure that things work out." What did you think of what the president said? What did you think of how the president looked? Because he clearly didn't stop to speak and answer questions when he emerged from the White House to board Marine One.
Well, I think the only way we can know that he is doing well, as we all hope he is to hear from his doctors. And I know I sound like a broken record tonight about this, Wolf, but the people we're hearing from is the little video of the president, the Eric Trump tweet, and really nothing else aside from a perfunctory letter from his doctor inside the White House telling us that he is on an experimental drug, which they gave to him, I presume, intravenously. And we really haven't heard anything else. It's reassuring to see that the president could do that video, that he could walk out and kind of wave to people. Obviously, it looked like he didn't have the kind of energy he normally has. But this is why you need people inside the White House who are not just his family, but we need people and doctors who can tell us what is really occurring here. And I'm hopeful that perhaps once he gets assessed at Walter Reed, we'll be able to have some more information. But I don't even think this is a close call, Wolf. You have a president who is being helicoptered over to Walter Reed, and we're not quite sure exactly what is occurring or why that needs to occur. If it is out of an abundance of caution, then that's great. But let a doctor tell us that. I don't think this is time to wait. I do think that the American public is watching this play out in real time, and that the public deserves an explanation from the medical experts. If they do not want people just sort of saying, okay, this is what I think is going on, this is what I think may be going on, then tell the American public exactly what is going on. And I think the video from the president may reassure the public that, great, the president is in his suit, he's in his tie, he looks the way he normally looks, and he tells you he's going to Walter Reed, but he didn't really provide any information other than saying, look, I hope things are going well, and so does the American public, but let the doctors tell us exactly what is going on.
Yeah, the president, and maybe we can cue it up. I'd like to hear the president's statement again. You know, Javi, if we could just cue that up, let's play it for our viewers one more time. This is the statement that the president posted on Twitter. Listen to this.
I want to thank everybody for the tremendous support. I'm going to Walter Reed Hospital. I think I'm doing very well, but we're going to make sure that things work out. The First Lady is doing very well. So thank you very much. I appreciate it. I will never forget it. Thank you.
Sanjay Gupta is still with us as well, our chief medical correspondent. So when you saw the president in that brief 20 or 25-second statement, Sanjay, what did you think?
You know, it's so hard to speculate on anything there, Wolf. I mean, he looked good, obviously, standing there, you know, not requiring any kind of aid or anything like that. So that was certainly good to see. I mean, again, just from that short video, did he appear out of breath? Not to me, but, you know, that's you know, something that, again, just hard to tell there. So I don't know that we could read too much into that. One thing, Wolf, I'll say as well, to Gloria's point, you know, regarding the doctors, I was curious whether any members of the coronavirus task force have been involved at all today. You know, you got some of the world's most expert people on COVID and the novel infection. And what I'm hearing is that they are in the dark as well. They are getting details about this from watching the television coverage and reading the news reports right now. So it's a little surprising to me, again, when you have that level of expertise at your disposal in terms of what's best to do for clinical care. It sounds like the task force members are not part of this decision-making process either.
Stand by, Sanjay. I want to bring in our chief legal analyst, Jeffrey Toobin, who's watching all of this unfold. We heard earlier, Jeffrey, that the president has no intention of transferring power, authority to the vice president of the United States. There are procedures in place if a president does get ill, right?
That's right. It's the 25th Amendment, which was passed it was ratified in 1967, partially in response to the Kennedy assassination. And the procedure has been used 3 times. Ronald Reagan invoked it before he had cancer surgery, and George Herbert Walker Bush did it twice when he got routine colonoscopies. And what it is the president writes a letter to the president of pro tem of the Senate, who's now Chuck Grassley, and the Speaker of the House, now Nancy Pelosi, and says, I transfer the powers of the president to my vice president. And at some point, he then writes another letter taking those powers back. That's how the process is designed to work. The question now is President Trump sick enough where he would want to transfer his powers to Vice President Pence? According to the spokesman we just heard from, the answer is no. But given the evolving explanations of the president's condition and the fact that he's been transferred to a hospital, does raise the question about whether or when such a transfer of power will take place.
Yeah, that's very, very significant indeed. We'll see what happens on that front. The former Secretary of Homeland